Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our TLC Live, our weekly TLC Live. We're streaming in Facebook and also in YouTube. Bienvenidos todos a nuestro Facebook Live, que estamos viéndonos todos los miércoles a las 11 de la mañana a través de Facebook y también de YouTube. Y ahora le voy a dar la bienvenida a mi amigo y co-host que está disfrutando de Montana, Orlando Sánchez. Orlando, good morning.
Buenos días, Andrea, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien, bueno, no tan bien como tú que tienes allá un escenario divino que lo veo atrás tuyo, está espectacular las montañas y como siempre un clima divino, pero bueno, aquí nosotros en la oficina y en Houston aguantando muchísimo calor.
Aquí hay 72 de grados esta mañana y la estamos pasando bien chévere, pero regresaré al fin de mes, así que estaré contigo otra vez en el calor insoportable de Houston.
Okay, well, Orlando is in Montana, and today we have a special guest with these horrible temperatures, because our special guest is Ruben Falcon, which is he is a candidate for Texas House District 74, and he is in Colorado. Even our producer is in the farm. Everybody is out of town except me. What is going on?
You're welcome to come join us. But anyway, it's good to have Ruben. We've followed Ruben for quite some time. Ruben filed, I'll let him tell you, but Ruben filed for state representative and way out in West Texas, one of my favorite parts of Texas, Brewster County, Pecos County, Valverde County, all those counties out there. I like to call it no country for old men, Ruben. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But
yes,
Ruben, tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, what you do. Are you single? Are you married? And what got you motivated to run for state representative out in the vast open wilderness of West Texas?
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm here at a Walmart parking lot, and I'm streaming, happily talking to everyone. My name is Ruben Falcon. I'm from Fort Stockton, which is West Texas. I am running for Texas House District 74, and my history is I have been a city councilman, I have been mayor, I have been elected to water districts, and this district, Texas House District 74, has been surrendered and always considered a Democratic district. Okay, and Pete Gallego held it for a long time. In 2013 or whenever he got off, the window was not right for me. I had a senior in college, a freshman in college, and then Poncho got on, and then the opportunity came on when he decided not to run more. And I feel right now the window is ready for me to come in and bring my conservative values, my first of all fiscal conservative values, to the state of Texas and the lawmakers.
So are you from the area? Are you married?
Yeah.
Do you have a family? Tell us a little bit about you.
I am married. I'm married to my wife, Veronica. We are high school sweethearts since 1990, and she's with me here right now. I was born and raised in Fort Stockton. There's actually, I was raised in Santa Elena, Chihuahua. My dad had a home in Fort Stockton and a home in Santa Elena raising cattle and farming and ranching. And up until about the age of middle school, I prefer to spend a time over there. It was just more fun, river, outdoors. But as you get to middle school, you got to start doing sports and band, and you gotta get serious. Came to Fort Stockton, and I've been here ever since. I have two sons, Jordan, who's a police officer, he's 29, and Jalen, who's 25, and he works in Austin for an IT firm.
Well, very interesting, Ruben. And so now you are a candidate for Texas House District 74. So why you decide to get into politics after, your background in law enforcement? What did bring you to be the voice for your community, and you're Latino, and also, you're not only the voice for your community in the west of Texas, but also for the Latino community?
Well, it starts like this. So my dad was self-employed, right? He always had about 5 things going, from the cattle to mechanics to buying and selling things. And me as a son and the oldest boy, I really always struggled from time to time. You know, high cotton, no cotton. You know, and he was happy doing that. I did not see myself doing something like that. It's a hard life, but you know, it's you always gotta be a penny pincher. You gotta watch everything you do, because you don't know when the lean times are coming, and they will come. And so, as soon as I could, I joined the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, the prison division, and I promoted to lieutenant. I was a field force lieutenant, which is like you see in the movies, horseback with the dogs and the inmates working outside in the farm. And one in 1997, we had dogs that would help. We would train our dogs by helping the local law enforcement whenever someone escaped or ran from a Texas state trooper that pulled someone on the side of the interstate. And in 1997, a radical group called the Republic of Texas held a bunch of citizens in Fort Davis, in the resort up there, hostage, and ran them out of their home and took over their land, claiming ownership. And there was a big standoff. You can look it up. And we were called with our horses, our dogs, and we helped in the standoff. And for that, Governor Bush at the time recognized myself and 4 other gentlemen that worked with me at the state capitol. We got a proclamation from the legislature, and that was my big moment with the state. I then went on to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, and I was on my way to the U.S. Marshals and so on. And in 2001, my dad started having some health issues, and I came back, and what I thought was going to be a short stint running, his operation, and that was 20 years ago. And I'm here, and one of the things, so I became my dad, and got involved locally first, with the Chamber of Commerce, with tourism departments, with the city council, being mayor. And now, like I say, I'm my dad now. I am a fiscal conservative, and I've done that in my local government. I'm known for that. To me, every penny spent has to have a funding source. You just cannot say we're going to print this, or obviously the state cannot print money, but we're just not going to say we're going to take money and give to this. To me, everything needs a funding source, and I want to bring that mentality to the state legislature. I think,
Ruben, it sounds to me like, first of all, I want to thank you, because it sounds like your entire career has been public service, whether it's law enforcement or at the federal level, at the state level. So thank you for your service. Also, your son, you tell me, is a police officer. So it seems to me, and this is the part of the mission of the Texas Latino Conservatives, is that we try to tell the Hispanic community, regardless of where they're from, whether it's Colombia, Mexico, or Cuba, or Venezuela, or Nicaragua, is vote your values. And you just explained to us your values, and your values come from your father. And I'm sure your father's values came from his father. So what do you tell young people that are watching, when they go vote in November? I just don't understand how a lot of the young Hispanics vote with the liberal left when everything we do in our families is conservative. What's your message to the young folks that are watching?
Well, the message is that, first of all, Hispanics, we are conservatives by how we live and how we act. The traditional family value, the dinner, after football practice, after volleyball practice, you come home and mom's got dinner, and you sit down and you eat, and you have you say your prayer, you eat, and you share your day's activities with your family. I know that whether your parents work 2 jobs, 1 job, there's always, whether it be breakfast, lunch, dinner, we Hispanics always share a meal daily. And we talk about what's going to happen that day, what's happened before, maybe someone gets mad at you, worry about your grades and things like that. But so what I'm trying to say, and I'm going to bring in, of course, the big deal of the moment right now is COVID, right? So one of the things that's happening with COVID is the economy has, first of all, it slowed down to a stop, and then slowly the governor and has helped get it go again. Reopening, and what this means is save your money. Save your money. You should always save more than you spend. That is because lean times are coming. We were rolling, man. If you had a 401k in March 1st of this year, if you had a 401k, if you had any kind of investments, we were rolling. The president was gonna just sweep through an election. It was obvious to see because at the end of the day, the economy drives the polls. And we went through those lean times in March, April, halfway through May. I think June, July, and August have shown that, yes, COVID is around and we have to learn to live with it, but we cannot surrender our life to it. And as far as, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Tell us a little bit about the issues that you're campaigning on. What's important way out in West Texas, out in the Big Bend and Fort Davis and Fort Stockton area?
Well, the number one thing that's always important out here is that we are given very little relevance. We are vast land, but our population numbers aren't there compared to the rest of Texas, and so we technically are not. We're ignored. Let me just put it that way. We're ignored. But this district starts in Eagle Pass and ends in Fort Hancock. It's the largest state district in the nation, and so in Fort Stockton, where I'm at, it's 3.5 hours to each end of the district.
I was just going to say, to give somebody, because when I ran for the state legislature, Ruben, back in 1992, I ran for House District 132 in Houston, and I could cover the entire area driving in about 15 minutes. Wow. You, on the other hand, from Eagle Pass all the way to the far northwest stretch is what, 3.5 hour drive, maybe more.
Well, just to Fort Stockton is 3.5 hours. And then I got another 3.5 hours to Fort Hancock. But
just amazing.
But see, and that's just it. And I've said this in Eagle Pass, and I've said this in Del Rio, that to the rest of the state, we are rural Texas. Yes, we're a little bit bigger than some of the other towns in the district, but we're rural Texas. And so to Houston, to Dallas, to San Antonio, and especially to Austin, we're far West Texas. We're rural. We're country folk. We're country folk.
We got to take Andrea out there one day. She's never been to that part of Texas.
Never.
Right.
I was telling Ruben before we start the live. I said, Ruben, I was reading your biography and I was reading about you. I don't even know how to pronounce the town that you are coming from. And he was like telling me, I said, you know what? Forget it. I'm not going to pronounce it right. And of course, Orlando is going to start correcting me. So you better tell us where you're from and tell us about, I'm just going to say you are from West Texas.
There you go. Well, and so we are, because we're our population numbers are low for the large amount of land. We are ignored, and it is frustrating. We carry a little chip on our shoulder over it, that when it comes to funding, when it comes to allocations, HD 74 really doesn't really matter. And me being a conservative Republican, I feel that once elected, I will be welcome at the governor's office, lieutenant governor, with a House and Senate, all the state leadership, and finally with a Republican conservative in office, Representative HD 74. I think things that will be a little bit more relevant than we have been, and we can find funding for things, healthcare and things like that, and public safety. But first of all, you say, why did I decide to run? Number one is I was concerned about losing the leadership. So at one time back in the early 2000s, there was about a 30-seat leadership, and now we're down to 9. And the Democrats have made it very clear that they're going after 22 seats, right? That way, if they get half, they still control the leadership. And that's where it all starts, because committee assignments, what gets voted on, is decided by the leadership. And I want to protect the unborn. I want to protect the Second Amendment. And I want to protect the current way of life we have in Texas. We've all said, don't California my Texas, and the funny thing is, as I was driving, New Mexico has similar stickers. And so does up here in Colorado, I've seen the same sign. There's a way of life that young people haven't, didn't grow up in the 80s and saw how, I'm not going to say, extreme. When you rely on the government for too many things, the government owns you. And so you got to have the freedoms that the conservative values bring, rather than the liberal, where government controlled. Yes, you have a few. You have the impression of freedom, but it's really limited.
Andrea,
Ruben, I wanna
Ruben?
ask you. You mentioned public safety, and I wanna ask you, how do you feel about what is going on in the country? You have one foreign background, and you have one son that is a police officer. And how do you feel about it? And if you get elected, what are you gonna do in your district about it?
Well, first of all, the most insane thing I've heard is defund the police, defund any kind of criminal justice, and because training is the most important thing, and training is expensive. And instead of taking money away from law enforcement, you got to give them more for training. And as with my son being a police officer, I see his frustration. We Fort Stockton's an interstate. We get people from all across the country, all the way from the all the way from the Carolinas, all the way to California, and he deals with all kinds of all people from throughout the country. And he tells me about how certain people look at the police officers when they go get coffee at 3 a.m. at a truck stop, and they're getting this look that they're really not getting in Texas as much, but they're getting it from people that are out of the state. And I see his frustration. I see his frustration with police departments and being burnt in the state of Washington, and so it bothers me. But he's a professional. He knows what he does. But again, I've had very little phone service up here, but I will tell you this: I did manage to get a tweet that someone shared with the governor, and I believe the lieutenant governor and the speaker said that they are for freezing the tax rate of any city that defunds law enforcement. And I can tell you, I'll vote for that right now without even being in office. That is a huge mistake. You got to add funding. And so here we go. Again, I'm talking about being a fiscal conservative.
Ruben, I want to ask a question because you talk about defunding police officers and your son's a police officer. It seems to me that, I have a lot of Democrat friends that are conservative. And so there's not a big difference in terms of, our philosophies, particularly Latino Democrats. But there are a number of Democrats that are so far left and not only defund police, but defund all law enforcement. For example, a couple of months ago, when these caravans from Central America were coming up through Mexico and onto the border here in Texas, the big push here from local city council members in Houston and one congressional leader, Sylvia Garcia, and even our county judge, Lina Hidalgo, were marching to eliminate immigration and customs enforcement. Now, can you explain the logic to me, and how do you guys feel? And because most of your counties, whether it's Maverick County, Val Verde County, Brewster County, you guys are all border counties. How do you feel, and more importantly, do your constituents feel about eliminating immigrations and customs enforcement and letting those caravans just invade our country?
They don't like it. They don't like it. It's a terrible idea. I can't find anyone that seems to like it.
There are plenty of them in Harris County.
Well, and again, that's the same people that think that the people out here in rural West Texas are, country folk, that we don't know what's good enough for us. We got to let them tell us what to do. And that's not going to work. And so, again, I will 100% support what the governor mentioned yesterday about freezing the tax rate, the property tax rate. And I want to talk about that because the whole thing to my campaign is property taxes. I feel it's an unfair taxation on homeowners, business owners, and property owners.
Yes.
I think that similar to I have an idea for it. And And my first idea is that the chief county appraiser in every county in Texas should be elected. We need a constitutional amendment for that. And the reason being is the chief appraiser in every county in Texas has too much say-so on everyone's day of life not to be elected. He is appointed. So here's a little secret as an elected official I'm going to let out. Most of your chief appraisers are appointed by school board, county, or city, the taxing entities. So, I can stand here in a soapbox and say, Ruben Falcone, in 20 years of local government, has never raised taxes. Yeah, correct. But values have gone up, even when you feel that the values aren't going up.
There's no question about it, Ruben, that the appointment of chief appraisers is a way for politicians to hide behind tax increases because they personally can say, well, I've never raised the tax rate. But here's the issue, and you bring up an excellent point, Ruben. As the property valuations continue to skyrocket in Texas because people still want to move to Texas, it is the responsibility of the local elected official to cut the property tax rate. And you won't find too many leaders that'll do that.
Well, we're doing it this year in Fort Stockton.
Good.
I can tell you this. So the other thing that I want to do is you're talking about elected officials at the local level hiding behind the chief appraiser. Now I'm going to tell you about the state level. The state level hides behind unfunded mandates. So number 2 for me would be a constitutional amendment to make unfunded mandates to do away with them. And that because every 2 years the legislature meets and they solve all the state problems and then raise taxes but they pass on to the county governments, the hospital districts, the jail, the sheriff. They put all these new requirements, unfunded mandates, and they break the local budgets. And that's where the local elected officials are forced to go up on tax rates and things like that. So it is. I am a fiscal conservative, number 1. And that means that people's feelings get hurt sometimes. We say, yes, you hear Democrats, we need more healthcare. Yeah, I'm for a Starbucks and a clinic in every corner. But until you find a funding mechanism that does not just piggyback off the backs of the average work in Texas, you can't do it. You just can't keep adding things without fixing the funding mechanism. And so my third thing is, and this will be this is the most should be number 1 on my list, but it seems the one that gets the most reaction. That I want to do away with property taxes and I want to replace them with a consumption tax. And that is similar to when you put fuel in Texas. When you put gas in Texas, whether you're passing through, whether you're working here for the season, where you're a winter Texan coming from Montana to stay in Texas for the summer, you put gas, you help pay for those roads and bridges. To me, if you're living in Texas under any circumstances, when you buy something at the store, that there should be a tax, a consumption tax. So, for example, if I can buy this expensive iPad and you can only buy a tablet, I pay on that tablet, on that iPad, and you pay on the tablet. But you pay to what it costs to live under the umbrella of the state of Texas. And and that gets a lot of people's attention about even the far conservatives. Oh, that's a little too aggressive. I said, no, what's aggressive is that about half of Texans pay into property taxes, and we just keep wanting to add things to it. Oh, and there's no more money. And one of the things that we can do right now, there are no positives to COVID-19, none, no positives. But one of the things that can come out of this is we can go back to budget and actually zero balance the budget, zero balance it. And for the first time since the Depression, I'm guessing, we can look at what it really costs to run Texas and look at all the pork that's in every line item throughout the budget and then make it lean. Before we even talk about anything else, as soon as this election is over in November, we got 2 months the legislature is going to meet. And to me, the first thing is budget. Go in there and trim the fat off of all these things that we've got accustomed to, because it happens as the economy's growing. Oh, this sales tax is great. Look, all the money coming in from sales tax. Well, tourism revenue is way down, and sales tax is way down. I know it said it was, but so you asked. There you go. There's my platform. I want to go ahead.
Ruben, you are pro business, and you said private property, but pro business. How did your mentality or your plan change for businesses after COVID-19 and after now? We still living in the pandemic, but how did your plan change for business owners or the small business owners? That's the one that is increasing the most, especially in Texas and everywhere. And also on the Latino side, the Latinos are the one that opening more small business than other people. So how do you plan change or your mentality change after or during this pandemic about business owners? And you just said sales decrease, everything decreased because of this pandemic. So what should be the plan?
First of all, to my fellow small business owners, I'm with you. I feel your pain. I'm suffering just like everybody else. My biggest challenge has been keeping everyone employed that works for me, and keeping my rental properties with a renter and giving relief to my renters as much as I can, because the revenue, the doors have to stay open. And so I think all business owners, whether it be small, but let's just talk about small now. We're gonna have to learn and appreciate that the next day is not guaranteed. Just because you've been averaging a certain amount of sales or a certain amount of customers for the last 5 years, we see now how fast they can stop. Mm-hmm. And so saving more than we make is the most important thing. Avoiding debt as much as possible. And I'm talking because I'm guilty of it. Okay. And I'm in no means going to point the finger. I have more than my share of debt. I've seen my funds, what I thought was a safe nest egg for business revenue. I'm watching it, especially when it was March and April, how fast you can deplete savings to keep the doors open in a small business. And I watch younger guys than me that start, especially out in West Texas in the oil field, and seeing them right now filing for bankruptcy. I've had friends that were leaving for the last 5 years. I started a business, and I'm seeing them lay off all their employees, and then just them, just work trying to keep their house payment and their business payments. But I always talk to young Hispanics when I see them going up in their business. Things that no one told me is how important. Number one is that you have an attorney. You have an attorney, and we're intimidated. My abuelito Chiraco used to say, "Abogados y doctores nomás te agarran y no te sueltan." And there's a fear that we had. You talk about our grandparents. Didn't trust the financial systems, didn't trust the banks, and that's kind of been passed on to us a little bit. And it needs to be the opposite. Number one thing, go visit with a lawyer. If you have any business with any kind of employee, or you see any customers, pay a small retainer just to have access to an attorney. That should be no different than buying materials for business. And number two is have a CPA. Mm-hmm. Yes, we can all start the first year using so-and-so's income tax, Juanita's income tax, and eventually go up to what we think is the big boy, which would be, one of the national chains. But get a CPA. What you save long-term from a CPA, you'll make up for because it's not as expensive as you think. And the third thing is a financial planner. Whether you're making, $3,000 a month profit or $30,000 a month profit, talk to a financial planner. That's how
most people don't have most people, you don't understand that finances is like taking a road trip. If you don't have a map, you may get lost. And so those are the three very important things that you talk about, and this is good advice. We're going to cut it a little short here, Ruben, because unfortunately I've got to run to the airport and pick up some Texans that are coming up to visit and do a little fly fishing. we've really enjoyed having you on. We want to wish you the very best. We want to congratulate you on your victory in the primary. We want to wish you the best of luck in November. We know that if you touch enough people in that vast district, you're going to win because you're on the right side of the issues. Talking about all the important things, which is limited government, reducing and at least making taxation more fair, certainly making sure that these wacko counties that want to eliminate law enforcement, get slapped on the hand, because most people do like their law enforcement. I understand that, we have sometimes, as in any organization, there's a bad apple, but the vast majority of law enforcement are public servants. So we want to wish you the very best. We need you in the Texas legislature. We are delighted that you share the values that our PAC advocates. And just from my perspective, I know this is very hard to do because I've done it before running for office, but I wish you the very best. And I'm going to leave the last word to Andrea.
Pues Rubén, muchísima suerte. Vamos a hablar un poquito en español porque me dijiste que también español era tu primer idioma, así que muchísima suerte. Y tengo que visitar tu distrito, definitivamente. Tengo que visitar tu ciudad, tu pueblo donde naciste. Y obviamente si ganas tenemos que ir allá a visitarte con Orlando y por fin conocer lo que es el West Texas, ya que no me lo cuenten más ustedes, sino ya visitarlo. Y si ganas y estás haciendo todo esto de cortar los impuestos y pro business y todo eso, como que me voy a mudar para tu distrito.
Vente, hay bastante lugar, no. Alguien estaba naqueando de afuera, no.
Okay.
Estoy muy contento aquí a hablar con ustedes. Como te decía, yo aprendí español primero y luego inglés. Y he practicado mucho más el inglés en los últimos 30, 40 años, pero yo quiero representar a toda la gente del distrito. La mayoría es hispana, la mayoría es gente que trabaja muy duro y necesita una quebrada del gobierno.
Muchísimas gracias, Rubén. Pues yo también aprendí español primero y sigo aprendiendo inglés.
All right, guys. Well, Ruben, thank you. Wish you again the very best. Andrea, we'll see you when I get back. And join us next week on Facebook Live. Also, remember, we've got our bus tour down in what I call South Texas. Ruben may call it West Texas, which is we're going to be in Uvalde County. We're going to be in Valverde County. We're going to be in Maverick County. We're going to end up back in Bexar County. So if you want to see some of our Ruben, and we hope you'll be on our bus tour. We'd like to see you there.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, this is a special invitation. This is live special invitation, Ruben. We want you to be with us in our bus tour.
Yep. And don't forget. Also, don't forget that we are offering scholarships to young Latinos that need some help with college this coming fall semester. So go to our Facebook page, which is www.texaslatiноconservatives.com, and you'll see a link to the application for our Facebook Live. Don't forget that in October, we have a delayed celebration of our Tough Tejano Award in San Antonio, Texas. We were originally going to do it on San Jacinto Day, but because of COVID-19 and everything was shut down in San Antonio, we have moved it into October. So we're looking forward to that. We'll be letting you know more about that. But everything is on our website. Andrea, I'm going to run over to the airport. I've got to cross the mountain pass and pick up some Texans that are coming to visit. You guys stay safe and have a great week.
Well, everybody keeps having fun, from Ruben and Orlando, the producer, everybody having fun outside of Houston. I'm going to stay in Houston, unfortunately, guys. But I'll see you next Wednesday. Ruben, thank you so much for being with us. And thanks to you and all of us that connect with us every Wednesday. Thanks for keep, this Facebook Live going on, and support us in TexasLatinoConservatives.com and become a member. Nos vemos el próximo miércoles.